Buying a car for your family can be hard work. You're trying to find the sweet spot between so many factors, and it's easy to end up with an Achilles heel in your car. Don't worry, because we've got your back. In this video, we're going to cover the most important things to keep in mind when shopping for a car. After that, we'll hit you with some recommendations that should fit the bill perfectly. First off, while bigger is sometimes better, that isn't always the case with cars. The size of your car you go for is going to depend on the size of your family. There are SUVs you can get with 4, 5, 6, or even 7 seats. You might be tempted to go for the 7-seater car, but there are disadvantages to getting such a massive vehicle. They can be gas guzzlers, difficult to drive, and you'd be surprised how much trouble you can get into with parking such a big car. When it comes to size, you can't go wrong with picking the same number of seats as the number of people in your family. You definitely can't go for fewer seats, but there are things to consider with this option too. For instance, do you see yourself driving your kids' friends around? Or do you see your family growing in the future? Your car can last you a good long while, so it might be useful to leave headroom for your needs to grow. Finally, a bigger car means more space to tote things around, and with kids, that can be really important. The pile of stuff that you need to carry for babies can be bigger than the baby itself, and even older kids will want to take their toys and other things, especially on a road trip. Let's talk a little bit more about seats though. It isn't just the number of seats that matters. The comfort level of the seats are also just as important. While almost any mid-range or better vehicle will have comfortable driver and co-pilot seats, some will compromise on the back seats to cut the cost a little bit. You and your boo could have made that choice before, but your kids deserve better than that. If you have younger kids who need car seats, then you should definitely make sure that there are car seat anchors available. Enough of them for all your kids, in fact. It'll help too to be aware of what your local regulations are concerning kids in cars. You don't want to risk a fine over a misunderstanding of the rules. Here's another thought: materials. That's an easy one to disregard, and since everything we're telling you to keep in mind is going to cost you, cloth seats are going to look tempting. But keep in mind that kids will spill a lot, and cloth seats are really tough to get stains out of. For your family car, you'll want to stay far away from absorbent materials in your seats. Leather or synthetic leather are really the only ways to go for a family car. They do look nice and are often comfortable, but the most important thing is that they don't absorb things. Seats aside, you should think about your floor mats too, and here you might actually prefer an absorbent material over a non-absorbent one. Vinyl floor mats look bad and aren't very comfortable, so opt for one of the more plush options. If a mat is a victim of a spill, they can easily be removed and washed later. But the one thing you should never skimp on is safety. Safety features are one of the easiest compromises to make when shopping for a car. You don't do it on purpose, of course, but that's what happens when you try to cut costs too far. It might be very tempting to get an SUV from 10 years ago, and it'll cost a fraction of what the current model year would cost. There are definitely advantages to being used cars, but a car that old will be lacking a lot of the newer tech that's meant to keep you and your family safe. In your entire time with that car, you might get into just one accident. But remember that traffic accidents are one of the biggest killers of the world. If you or a loved one gets seriously injured in that one accident, you'll regret it for a really long time, in a way that can't be offset by the money you saved on the car. We've certainly come a long way from the days when all you got as standard were seat belts and airbags. Backup cameras are now standard features on most cars, by law in some countries. Also standard are parking sensors and blind spot monitors. Some of the coolest safety tech isn't standard, but you should consider springing for those options. On days when you have a long trek home at the end of a really tiring family day out, you'll be glad that you opted for the lane departure warning system. Adaptive cruise control will keep you from crashing into cars ahead of you if you doze off while cruising. Attentiveness detection will alert you if you ever doze off at all. There are a lot of safety features out there, and you don't have to get them all, but you should make sure that your car has the basics and a fair bit more than that. Even if you're shopping used, don't go for cars that are older than 5 years, and make sure the safety stuff works. You might not see their worth yet, but we can only hope that you never have to use them at all. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's look at some cars. Our first recommendation is the Hyundai Tucson. This bad boy has reviewed really well and picked up awards for Best Hybrid, Best Family Car, and Car of the Year from Car Buyer. While it's available in petrol and diesel models, we say that you should always take the electric option if one is available. Hybrids aren't as cool as Teslas, but they'll still cut down your gas costs a lot on short trips. Plus, your country might offer you a tax credit on it. Family cars aren't meant to be enjoyable, but the Tucson manages to be relatively fun to drive. That is in addition to having a comfortable interior and loads of seating and storage space. Crossover SUVs like this one can easily hit all the check marks for being a practical vehicle for your family, while remaining relatively discreet. As an added bonus, Hyundais are famed for their reliability. The last thing you want is your car to break down and strand your family, or for it to fail just as you're about to embark on your next family adventure. But for a more high-tech option, consider the Peugeot 3008. Peugeot isn't known very well outside of its native France, but they're trying to go global with an eye towards high-tech and futuristic cars. The 3008 sports a cool dashboard and the brand's signature iCockpit instrument cluster, which is actually just a high-resolution screen that you can customize. Now, we did say that you should avoid fabric seats, and that's what you get with the Peugeot 3008. Fortunately, the car comfortably meets all of our other requirements for a practical family SUV. There's even a hybrid option that you can get 230 miles per gallon with. It's a comfortable car and has loads of features, so maybe you could compromise on the seats. If you're looking for that fine German engineering, we present to you the Volkswagen Tiguan. When it comes to the German, Volkswagen definitely goes for the utilitarian look. We think there's a charm to its serious business aesthetic, and it isn't too ostentatious for a family either. Now, the Tiguan doesn't have a hybrid option. What it does have is a four-wheel drive option, so you can take this bad boy off the road, onto beaches, and into woods. If you and your family like that sort of thing, there aren't many cars out there that can meet your needs like the Tiguan. It does all this while having a comfortable and classy interior, and lots of room for all the people and cargo you'd like to stuff in there. The catch here, though, is that a VW is a German brand, so this is going to get pricey. For family cars, name recognition isn't necessarily the best place to allocate your budget, but if you can swing it, the Tiguan is a great offering from a great brand. Finally, let's take a look at the new Kia Sportage. The Sportage always had a bit of a Hertz rental feel to it, but that was before Kia refreshed the car from the ground up in 2021. Nowadays, the car looks like it's ready to battle any of its competition, both on the outside and the inside. Poaching a lot of cool features from their own EV6, the Sportage has been equipped with dual 12.3-inch screens carrying Kia's infotainment system. If you get this in the hybrid variant, you'll be stuffed to the gills with technology. All of this is on top of the Sportage's heritage as a dependable car made for families. The interior is comfortable enough. You get all the modern safety features and a respectable amount of space for passengers and cargo. That's it for today's video. We hope that you found our recommendations useful. If you have any other tips and suggestions for families looking to buy the right SUV for themselves, do share in the comments section below. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.